Doomsday 3.
We're in Doomsday 1.
No question in my mind.
He came from one of the toughest areas of Phoenix, most of his country, of course.
Praying for safety and
On the defense, talking about it. You better get your ass the ball. You better get your ball.
I just gotta say, when it comes to former Dallas,
Different.
for sure, and they would have thrown it off because this guy gets off you.
Solid from and then I go to bed every night like G man, I promise you that we got a What is up, Cowboys Nation? Your boy Mike Tag here. It's been a little while. It's been on a little hiatus, enjoying Memorial Day weekend. Hope all you guys are had a great time. It's tough going back to work after that, and you got a short week, but we're struggling through it. It's Wednesday. We kind of did the show Wednesday because Thursday, obviously, the Mavericks. So before we get rolling, hit that subscribe, hit the like, hit the share. We're going to have a good time. My partner in crime, Kelly K9, as you guys know, is relaxing down in Texas, enjoying a little R&R and some vacation. So he's got a lot of stuff going on. So definitely shout out to Kelly as well. But we got a pretty good substitute. He's family's part of the show. Our man, Greg. Greg, how you doing, man? You were on
good. How you doing? How you doing, Cowboys Nation? Yeah, I'm doing fine, man.
You were on some vacation. You took a nice little break too, huh?
Yeah, that took about 10, 11 days in Birmingham. Went to see my mom and family and do a few things around the house and help out, and just hang out with the family. Had a good time.
Now you're not jumping ship on the Cowboys. I'm seeing this Birmingham Stallions. You're doing that. Say you got the gear and all that. You're not giving up on us, are you?
Oh no. I'll never give up on the Cowboys. Look, you can take away food, you can take away luxury, you can take away everything else. Don't take away my Cowboys.
No, absolutely. But hey, just a shout out to everyone in the chat, man, and everyone's starting to roll in. Like I said, it's a special night, special day because we got the Mavericks tomorrow. Hopefully they'll be able to close it out. But hey, wanted to give a couple shout outs. And just really, I'm asking you guys, if you're not subscribed to these two channels, do your boy a solid. Go over, leave a comment on one of the videos and say, hey, the Cowboys Cave sent me and I'm here, and subscribe. Tony Hill, who's obviously a Cowboy legend, him and his son, when he was on our show, we interviewed him. He said he was going to be starting a podcast. Well, they got going. It's called Breakfast with Boys. So it's Tony Hill and his son, Anthony, doing a great job. And I'm telling you what, here's their lineup. These are the first three guests they've had. Tony Dorsett, Drew Pearson, and Roger Staubach. You can't ask for much better than that. So definitely it's Breakfast with the Boys on YouTube. Do me a solid. Go over there and hit that subscribe. And then the other thing, if you guys could help your boy out, of course, always make sure you subscribe to us, is Preston Pearson has a podcast. It's the Champions, but it's not listed as the Champions. You gotta just search Preston Pearson and you will find it. Again, leave a comment. Let them know the Cowboys Cave sent you. That way they know the power of the cave, and we're hooking each other. We're friends of, obviously, these great Cowboy players. Preston Pearson's actually be coming into the cave. We're going to be talking. He was a Pittsburgh Steeler, for those of you guys who don't know, then came to the right side, the Cowboys side. So he's one to really kind of understand that rivalry between Pittsburgh and Dallas, which will be heating up because we're going to Pittsburgh this year. But again, do me a favor, when you get a chance, go over to Breakfast with Boys, which it's Tony Hill and Anthony Hill, his son. Go over there and subscribe, and then go ahead and search Preston Pearson and subscribe to his YouTube channel as well. Preston Pearson's had on Darren Woodson, Nate Newton, Brad Sham, and I know I'm missing. He had a cheerleader on from back in the day. That was kind of cool. So they've had on some great guests as well. So show them some love and let them know the cave sent you. That way they know. and maybe they return the favor to us. So definitely appreciate it, and we are going to get things rolling. And wait, before we get things going, if we get a super chat and someone, throwing a couple donations to the cave, which is going to be for our tailgate party. You guys know we got our tailgate party coming up with the Ravens. Greg's going to be there. We got a whole crew going to be there. So make sure you check it out. But the Lunatic, appreciate it. The question that we have tonight is what's holding the Cowboys back? And I saw some comments, and we're definitely going to get to them, and I'd love to get your comments as well. And if you're not on YouTube and you're watching us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, slide over to YouTube, because sometimes we can't see your comments on those other platforms for whatever reason. But the question, and I'll let you, Greg, answer it, and then I'll leave a comment, is 54 finally going to show up this year under Zimmer's defense? And we're talking about Sam Williams, who's been in the doghouse a little bit. But what's your thoughts?
I really hope so. And by the way, what's up, Jeff Hollis? I see you. I really hope so, because I was looking at a few players earlier today on the roster, because every now and then I like to just look at the roster and just look and see who we have and see who was producing last year and see who didn't. And Sam Williams really needs to step up. And if he does step up this year under Zimmer, because Zimmer will come with a different level of motivation. And I don't want to say fear, but a certain level of discipline.
You could say fear. He
don't play around. Anticipated fear and respect that players will adjust to, and they'll know they have to play their best game, because Zimmer will let them know. He may not scream and shout a lot, but he'll give them that look to let them know you're not doing what you need to be doing. And I'm sure Sam Williams isn't the Sam Williams that we thought we were getting this year. There's going to be some changes, and Sam Williams may be having to thinking about his career at the Dallas Cowboys, because he needs to step it up. Him and a few other players.
Now, there's a few. Now, I'm going to say that Sam Williams going into last year was my breakout player. He was the guy I projected, bold prediction, and we'll do that in the preseason. We'll get the crew together and we do our bold predictions. He was my bold prediction, double-digit sacks. I thought he was going to have on the year. I thought he was going to be the great, kind of be that guy to kind of pass up, be the next, good pass rusher opposite Micah Parsons for us. Very disappointed. I was even more disappointed in the playoffs with him and Kevontae Turpin advertising a party, a victory party before the game even started. That's a problem, and that's kind of the mentality, and that's the culture that they need to get rid of. So he's on thin ice with me, but I think with Zimmer, if he can't thrive under Zimmer, you might as well just go ahead and send him packing, because it ain't going to happen. If you can't thrive under Zimmer's system and defense, and you look at some of the guys that he's had through his career, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So it's put up or shut up for him. And like you said, Greg, there's a few others on this team that it's time to step up. And what's up, Steven, man? What's happening, brother? Appreciate you hopping in. And see a bunch of you guys in there. So if I missed your name or didn't get you, man, we'll definitely get back to you. But one of the other ones really, and people have talked about it in the last day, and I've seen some articles about it, and Brandon Cooks came out and said it, is Jalen Tolbert.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just another one that we kind of keep saying, all right, well, this year, all right, well, he had a redshirt year. Maybe this year will get going. I mean, he's another one where it's like, hey, man, put up or shut up. I think Kevontae Turpin, again, who was in my doghouse, he's a guy that could push him at the third wide receiver spot for snaps, because I think Turpin is a dangerous receiver, or playmaker, not even really a receiver in the open field. Then you're hearing, which I'm not going to do backflips over, Michael Thomas. There's some, interest in having him. I don't see that happening. But what's your thoughts on that third receiver with Tolbert, or what are they going to do?
Well, let's start with Tolbert, because I want to go to Tolbert, Kevontae, and Michael Thomas. Tolbert, I really don't think it's all Tolbert's fault. See, a lot of the receiver action, I look at the offensive coordinator. They need to involve these guys a lot more than they are. I know CeeDee Lamb's got to get his touches. I know Brandon Cooks got to get his touches because he's clutch. But they need to involve Tolbert in a few more plays than they're doing. Like the way we did Cedric Wilson. Everybody, when we had Cedric Wilson, they looked at Cedric Wilson like, who? Cedric Wilson was a game changer. Out of nowhere, you can hit Cedric Wilson, and he's going to get that ball. He's going to take off, and I really hated it when we got rid of him and moved him on. But Tolbert needs to get more opportunities, and then he can show up. Because if you're not getting the ball, then we can't necessarily say we blame you, and it's not necessarily that he's not getting open. Dak knows where his money's at, and where his money's at, CD and Brandon. And if he's not looking at Tolbert just like one of them and realizing if I get it to Tolbert a lot, I can take some of the heat off these others, and Tolbert comes clutch, then we can really see what Tolbert have. I looked at a lot of his catches and receptions for the last year. Tolbert wasn't getting that much action. Now, I don't know what's going on the sideline. I don't know what they see that we don't see, but I think you need to get him the ball. Turpin the same way. I looked at the roster today, and I saw Turpin's starts and what Turpin got. Turpin he averaged 1 reception a game. And I think he only got 3 touchdowns for the season. But that's because they're not featuring him a lot. If they feature him a lot, he's almost like a cheetah with the speed. He can get open, but we have to design more plays for him. And then Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas would be an awesome third receiver. But Michael Thomas in the last 2 seasons has been injured.
He hasn't been around.
And I really feel, and I could be wrong, I feel like the reason why Jerry is interested in Michael Thomas, he's low-hanging fruit. You can get him on the cheap because of his injuries. And if we get him on the cheap, and if he's healthy, he could be bombastic for us. But if Michael Thomas isn't healthy, you got him on the cheap, and then we can't really use him. So if we get him and he's healthy, great. But I'd like Jerry to turn his perspective to other players. Quit going out there necessarily getting players on the cheap that we know were phenomenal players, but you were able to get them on the cheap because of an injury or because of an attitude or something. Get away from that, Jerry. Get away. Let's go get some people that are healthy and people that you feature in the offense getting more plays. Feature Turpin, feature Jalen, and then we got another Jalen on there. Feature them in these in this training and in the camps as though they were going to be your number 3, and I guarantee you'll see them step up. And if the offensive coordinator designs plays for these guys, we'll see them featured more, and that's what we need.
Yeah, and I mean they're not going to be 80 reception guys. They're not going to be, but they're guys that if you can get them, 3 splash plays, 2 to 3 splash plays a game. That's kind of what you're looking for. With the lack of running game, or I don't want to say lack of running game, that's not fair. The uncertainty of our running game, let's be fair, is they could be putting everything on the passing game. And you could create a running game out of your passing game, obviously with like a Turpin where you're hitting wide receiver screens or you're hitting him out in the flat somewhere where he's open and he's got some open space to kind of make those moves. Maybe that's how they create those, what you call kind of those rushing plays if they're going to have trouble running the football. It's going to be interesting to see what they do running the football. But let's start a little bit and kind of just say, hey, I want to ask you, Greg, you haven't been on in a while. So what is holding the Cowboys back in your eyes? You're talking 12-5, or is it 12-5? Make sure I got my 12-5. Yeah. 12-5. I always forget that extra game. 12-5, 3 straight years. 1 playoff win in those 3 years. So they're 1-3. Would that be right? 1-3 in these years. Nothing to show for it. It's got to be, the biggest problem. So what's holding them back? I mean, and it could be a million things, but in your eyes, what are the things that are holding them back? Obviously, Ultra, he's going to put it 100% on Dak. Go with you.
See, listen, and as much as I hate to say it, and when I say hate to say it, I really hate to say it because he's what brought the Cowboys back to the glory days as far as buying the team, etc. What's holding us back, and it's with all due respect, is Jerry Jones. If Jerry Jones would go all in as he did when he came and took over the team and how he allowed Jimmy to go out there and make that blockbuster trade and the players that he got in because he was hungry to get a Super Bowl. If he goes all in like he did then, that will be more than that'll be close to 50%, 60% of what's holding us back. A lot of people, they look at the players and say that's what's holding us back. But with the players, there's a level of motivation, dedication, and commitment. But a lot of that is fostered by your leadership. And if your leadership isn't fostering it, making these fuzzy deals, making these wishy-washy deals, wanting to spend a dime to get a few good players, but not spend the kind of money to go back to the blueprint that you use when you design and got this team where they need to be, then it's going to trickle down to the players. The players are going to see, well, look, like I always say, he's buying the groceries. He's cooking the groceries. He wants to eat the groceries. Next thing you know, he wants to be on the field over here calling plays. And I'm a player. I'm looking at all these other teams and these GMs and how they're going out during the season, getting these players. And as a player, what we don't see is these players are talking to other players from other teams after games and on their weekends because they're friends with them. And then I know some of them saying, man, you know, if Jerry will go out there like Philly, like you guys are doing in Philly, and San Francisco, like you guys are doing in San Francisco, to plug and play people during the season because you see where you're going and you like, let's go get him. He can fit in this, and we're in game 3. Let's go get this person. If Jerry would do that, we can be where we are. But Jerry still got that mentality that you got 53 players. These are the 53 that's going to get us in there for the next 4 or 5 years, and we'll sprinkle some rookies. No, Jerry, the whole concept of building a team has changed now. Mercenaries. Go out there in the middle of the season, the beginning of the season, get this player like Derek Henry. Get him, turn around and pull Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner wanted to be a Dallas Cowboy linebacker last year. He wanted to be there. Dan Quinn wanted him. Jerry didn't even want to touch him. And Seattle got Bobby Wagner for only a few bucks more than what Jerry could have paid Bobby Wagner. Remember Earl Thomas came to our locker room.
Oh, we don't want Earl Thomas. Thank God for that.
But what I'm saying is, remember how he came and said, come get me. Yeah. Him and other players see what we need. They see the plug and play players we can get during the season, and we need to do it. But unless Jerry brings somebody else in on the table and say, look, give me your thoughts. And this year, I'm going to run with what you got. I bet you they can come up with some ideas on getting this plug and play during the season to win it. Because if all in means all in, that means selling your cupboard. Get all the soup cans out. Get all the bread out. Get all the pasta out of there. Clean that cupboard to do whatever it takes to get a Super Bowl. Because, Jerry, I know all you want right now is to get one more Super Bowl. And whatever it takes, you have to do it. But unfortunately, over these last few years, nickel and diamond and having 2 good drafts, we end up spending a lot more money than we have.
Yeah.
And now, because we didn't pay off with those players, now we're having to figure out, how do I keep the core of our best players without losing them and then having to start all over with the little money that I have? And if I were in that office, I would have said, first thing in that free agency, get Derrick Henry. Now, Jerry, Bobby Wagner. Let's talk to Bobby Wagner. He wants to be with Dallas and linebacker. Bring him in. You know the motivation of Derrick Henry on offense and a Bobby Wagner on defense will do for the rest of those players, Tank and all these other guys. You're looking at these guys, and they come in hungry. They come in hard. That alone would remotivate our players. And then Dan Quinn was a good defensive coordinator, but he was too friendly with the players. Zimmer's not going to be that way. Zimmer's not going to be that friendly. Zimmer's going to say, you come to play, we're paying you to play, you better play. The only problem with that is if some of them rebel and if they don't show up as they need to, and if Jerry doesn't compliment them with good deals on other players, then we're going to see ourselves struggling for the next 2 seasons and then worrying about whether Micah's getting paid, whether CD's getting paid. What is Dak going to do? And is Trey Lance going to evolve as that second string quarterback that can really think through defenses and get us there? So there's a multitude of things we need to do. But if I had to start, I would sit down and I would say, Jerry, I don't know your business. I'm just a fan. But I know you are ground zero for what we need to do to get this team back where it needs to be. And we address your situation and how you proceed on getting this team together, then we can move forward. But until we dress you, anything else afterwards, it's just trying to put a Band-Aid on it.
Well, you're on fire. You're on fire with that. And I agree with some of it. I don't want to say I disagree, but I think if we're going to be honest with ourselves, and you look at this team, and you look at the last, let's say, 20 years. Let's start with the Romo years into that. We try to forget those Chad Hutchinson, right, and the Drew Henson in those years. We don't want to remember that. There's I can probably think right off the top of my head about 4 times this was a Super Bowl caliber team. And it's hard. It's hard to win a Super Bowl. I mean, that's the thing that people have to understand. It ain't easy. There's 12 or 14 teams that never won a Super Bowl. So it's not the easiest thing to do. You do have to have luck. You do have to think go your way. But this team has had the talent. They've been very competitive for all these years. And I think a lot of it is the players, but I agree to an extent that it does start with Jerry, because I think it's the culture and the message that he sends to his players. That's, to me, is the bigger thing. I think they've drafted well. I think there's talent on this team. I think they've definitely, their philosophy is different. Their philosophy is building through the draft and kind of get value free agents. I don't know if that necessarily is going to guarantee you anything. They've been trying it for 20 plus years. Like I said, I'm not going to count those other years, but let's just say they've been trying it for 18 years and they've got nothing to show for it. So maybe you want to try something different. And to me, it's like what you and I talked about before we went on the air, is you looked at those teams of the 90s, and you had Emmett, you had Aikman, and you had Irvin, and you had Haley, but you had Tolbert, you had Kevin Gogan, you had Nate Newton, you had James Washington, and later you had Brock Marion, you had Darren Woods, you had guys that weren't the triplets, but the triplets aren't winning Super Bowls without those guys. Those guys were the meat, and they were the heart and soul of that team. They kept the balance, whether it be in the locker room. I mean, Troy Aikman talked a lot about it. I think I played it one time, talking about Kevin Gogan and Ken Norton and the impact they had in their locker room. That's what I think this team is missing, is that camaraderie. Like when we have guys on, and I've had, Gogan and then Crawford Kerr, they were teammates or roommates, and you listen to them tell stories with each other and they're laughing. Those guys hadn't talked to each other probably in 20 years. And it was like they were talking to each other yesterday. That means something. When James Washington, who was on the show, and I joked with him and said, hey, if it wasn't for that pass interference from Deion Sanders, we might have won that game. And he goes, I don't want to hear that. There's no excuse. Michael Irvin should have caught the ball, because Michael Irvin would have come at me if I would have missed a tackle. They held each other accountable. The accountability is what's really missing with this team that they had for each other. And of course, Jimmy Johnson. I mean, that goes without saying, but that's something that's missing. And I don't know, do you blame the owner for it? Do you blame leadership? Do you blame Dak? Do you blame Parsons? Do you blame, should they hold some of that blame? So it's really not one answer. And I know the low-hanging fruit for some people is Dak Prescott. He's kind of the whipping boy, but the defense has a problem. There's so many other layers to it. It's just not that easy. But let me jump in the chat, because there were some points made I want to bring up. And, the Lunatic, again, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. O-line, D-line, which one opposes our will more? Quick answer for me. I think it's, I don't know if it's a good sign, but I think it's going to be our O-line more than our D-line. But I don't know. But and then there was a question. Let's see. Jerry doesn't care about winning anymore. Jerry is the number one owner. I mean, as a businessman, there's no doubt about it. Blaming the man that doesn't touch the field, their contracts for millions of dollars. I agree with you, man. I mean, that's where I would say these players are professionals. They're high-paid professional athletes. If you can't get motivated for that Green Bay Packer game and you come out looking like that, that's inexcusable. Inexcusable on all levels, and you'll never tell me any different. But I do think the brand, there you go, Stephen, brand over Super Bowls. I think that's kind of been the part that hurts me a little bit, is the brand. The brand seems to be getting bigger than winning. Does that make sense? Yeah, but I don't. Jerry really wants a Super Bowl. And I know people say, well, Jerry's just worrying about the money. Of course, he got to pay for the stadium. He knows the brand. Dallas Cowboys brand will sell itself. I don't care whether we 4-12 or 4-13 or whatever.
it's still going to sell itself. Jerry, believe it or not, Jerry wants a Super Bowl just as bad as we do. But Jerry doesn't want to put his ego to aside to do the things it takes. I'm glad you mentioned Prime and all these players in Norton. Remember those days when we were going back and forth NFC championships every year with the 49ers. Now, think about this now. What did we do when we lost to the 49ers and we turned around and said, Jerry said, go get Prime from the 49ers? What did we do? I think either Norton was with us or
well, what did they do to us? They took Ken Norton.
And they could, but see, that's the mentality that we had back then because it was plug and play. We saw what team we were facing. We knew who was going to be our rivals in the NFC Championship. And we saw an opportunity to go get a couple of their players. And we said, let's go get them. What happened to that mindset? It's just like after when we won those 3 Super Bowls, and then we went into this long journey of who are the Cowboys? What's our identity? What I used to always say back then to a lot of my friends, I said, Jerry forgot the mold that built those teams. He went and spent a boatload of money to protect Troy Aikman. I remember John Madden telling me, it ought to be a shame. It ought to be ridiculous where you have big players like that on the offensive line and nobody can get in. It ought to be a shame. It ought to be illegal to have players like that. Jerry realized if I got an offensive line that rivals the Great Wall of Dallas from the original wall, if I got an offensive line like that, and Troy's got all the time in the world to make tea and do what he needs to do, we can win. And then after those 3 Super Bowls, when players start retiring, instead of saying, one thing I'm not going to forget to do is I'm going to keep making sure that I draft offensive linemen or go get offensive linemen that can protect any quarterback I put back there first. He forgot it. He got away from that. And we started getting all these other exotic players. And then we got forward and we started realizing we need to start going back to that mode. And he did. And it started working. And we would go to 12-5 and start winning. But we get to the playoffs. And that's where a leader, if we had a leader, a Jimmy Johnson, or let's say Zimmer back then, if we had a leader that didn't have to say a word to you, just his look let you know that you need to get your act together, then we could have pushed it further. Dan Quinn was one hell of a defensive coordinator, but Dan Quinn couldn't finish. He couldn't finish on defense for some reason. And he was the type of coordinator that defensive players like. They respected him, yeah, but I don't think they had that fear of respect for him. And if they did, maybe these players would have played a little bit better than they're playing. But the whole concept of what the Cowboys need in order to get better, it's a shame because you look on the table and you say they need all of this. Yeah. And where do you start? And I always say you have to start with leadership. Leadership sets the pace of what everybody needs to do and how they need to do it, and you take no prisoners.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just a couple things. Ultra always comes with some great points, and he's always quick to correct me, but I will correct Ultra. Gogan actually went, believe it or not, he went to the Raiders after Dallas. He went to San Francisco later. He never won a Super Bowl with San Francisco. And again, I'm just teasing with Ultra because I thought he won a Super Bowl. For some reason, I did think he went to the 49ers as well, but he went to the 49ers later. He had a little stint with the Raiders after the Cowboys. Yeah. And another thing, we have not drafted a quarterback in the first round since Troy Aikman, which is really odd. Now, I challenge my beautiful people in the audience, and make sure you subscribe, like, and share if you haven't already. I should see 168 likes for all the people that are here. But, is that the longest drought of any team? Because I just think it's pretty amazing that the Cowboys have not drafted. And you got to think, as those 5-11 season, there were some rough years. Yeah. Where, I mean, and I don't know who the quarterbacks were, so don't kill me. Maybe there was some sorry quarterbacks that were there, but I kind of think there was someone there. But the other thing too is, and I do agree a little bit, getting offensive linemen. The Cowboys, you and I talked about it before we went on the air, and there's always this misnomer that the Great Wall was this unbelievable talent that Jimmy Johnson got and just was he developed and drafted all of it. 3 of the 5 were Tom Landry guys, 7th rounder, 8th rounder, undrafted between Gogan, 2A, and Newton. And then they got Stepnoski, I think, in the 2nd round with Stepnoski. You got Eric Williams in the 3rd round. So they didn't go, drafting a bunch of early offensive linemen. But the thing that Gogan said, because I said, how do you guys make that leap? And everything to him was coaching. He said it was their offensive line. Hopefully I'm not forgetting. I want to say it was Hudson Houck. I think he was there during that time. I could be wrong, but whoever the offensive line coach was, but they came up together. They built it. They gelled together. All those guys, the 3 of the 5 were there in the late 80s. Then you add Stepnoski, who was, I didn't even realize until I looked it up. He was actually number 70. And I think they had him at guard at some point his rookie year. Maybe it was in training camp or preseason or something. But it was weird because I saw a picture of 70 Stepnoski. Did his brother play with us? And then I looked up his numbers. He was actually number 70 for a little bit, not long. And then obviously Eric Williams, who was just nasty and one of the baddest offensive linemen, probably should be in the Hall of Fame. I know his career was cut short, but if Baselli's in the Hall of Fame, I would make a case for Eric Williams for really what he did to Reggie White. I mean, that alone got to get you in the Hall of Fame. So, there's so many different things, and you look at the game as one in the trenches, and we talk about the offensive line. So fast forward and love the Saints have a longer drought of not drafting a 1st round quarterback. Well, what do they got to show for it? Ain't working for them either. Are they 71? He said 71 Archie Manning. That was the last 1st round draft pick they got. Look at our offensive line. So obviously we got Guyton, we got Beebe. To me, they seem like they're going to bring some nasty, just everything you kind of heard, the physical place and maybe some old school nasty mentality. And then you kind of mix it in with some of the guys we got. I think the offensive line is going to be a strength for this team. Am I crazy in saying that? I think they're going to have some learning curves, but I think as they go together and gel together, I think it's going to be a pretty solid group.
I do, but I wish we had drafted one more offensive lineman, at least 3. Guyton is a big boy. Guyton is still a big kid. He's still a big kid. And I'm just hoping that whoever's going to be mentoring this young man mentors him in the way that, Guyton, you're here to do one thing for us. Make sure nobody touches Dak. And I don't care what it takes. You make sure that happens. BB, I think, already has that mentality. I think if I take the 2, I think BB is a little bit more mature than Guyton. But if they get the proper guidance, they can be huge on that offensive line. But we still have to rely on a few others that are already on the team. We need them to step up. And if they see Guyton and BB and they say, you know what, I better get my act together. These rookies coming in here and they're playing lights out, then that'll help. But we need them to really step it up, because those 2 alone, mind you, now, if an injury happens to one of them, now we're coming back to what we already have. And if they're not going to be probably on every play all the time. So I wish we had gone out there and gotten one more offensive lineman. And who knows, maybe in camp or something, we may pick up somebody on waivers or something like that. I don't know.
Ultra's a no on Nathan Thomas. He says it's going to surprise some people. If he's I don't know who he is. I'll be honest with you, Ultra. You got me. And I'm not gonna be one of those guys that pretend to know who he is. I don't know who he is, but I'll take your word for it. I think Hoffman. I like Bass. I think they got some depth. Obviously, Richards they drafted last year. The one guy that kind of is like, you're kind of keeping your fingers crossed, because I think, Tyler Smith's going to be a star. I mean, he's on his way now. I mean, Martin is going to be Martin. He's going to be his Hall of Fame self. Steele that's the one that if I'm going to sleep at, not sleep at night thinking about something, is Steele going to go back to that pre-injury, Steele, where he was, just a solid, balanced. You're not going to have 5 all pros across the line. He just has to be good. You know, it doesn't have to be great. It just has to be good, right? Yeah, I mean, if you're good and you got Martin next to you, that makes you even better, right?
Yeah, but he's got competition now. He's got these guys coming in that have been drafted. Jerry, it seems like he went back and said, let me go back to the mold. I really need to get some offensive linemen, which he did. Now they have to prove themselves, but he's got competition now. Still's got competition because he can easily find himself sitting on the bench backing these guys up if he doesn't get out there and handle his business. So maybe this will remotivate him to really get his act together. I wish Tyron hadn't left, but I could see the writing on the wall with that one. I knew we weren't going to be able to keep him. I knew Jerry wasn't going to spend the money. I hope he does well with the Jets. I know he's got at least 2 more good years in him if he stays healthy. But he would have been one hell of a mentor for these young guys coming on between him and Martin. But Steele is one of those guys. If I go out there and get any offensive lineman jersey, Steele ain't gonna be the first one that I'm buying. And I want to see Steele step it up and try to work with this competition that he's gotten and get his act together. Because they were talking about low-hanging fruit being Dak. Dak had the most touchdowns in the league last year. So I don't know where the hell they come with Dak. But it's like anything else. Everybody goes to the quarterback. Their first person they want to blame is the quarterback. Dak did this, Dak. And I remind you, Cowboys fans and haters, Dak did not give up 48 points in Green Bay.
He gave up 7, though.
7, but not 48. Not 48.
I got to laugh.
Came back and got 30-something. So you can talk about Dak all you want. Dak wasn't on the defense. Defense let us down in that game.
No, I got to laugh at Kelly. He said the Jets are already botching Tyron. He's practicing, which is a problem. I got to agree with you, Kelly. He should be out there. And Kelly, I thought you were on vacation. If you're sitting around, you climb in the cave, man. What the hell's the matter? But yeah, it's I think the offensive line is going to be fine. And I kind of thought they were fine before the draft. That's why I wasn't going to kill them if they didn't draft an offensive, lineman early or anything like that. It's like, I thought maybe I'm blind, but I believed in Hoffman and I believe in Bass. And like BB, there's no guarantee. I mean, everyone kind of want to pencil him. Hoffman's going to have something to say about him taking his, that position at center. There's going to be a battle. But when you have battles, competition creates greatness. Now we'll go to the quarterback. Well, get your opinion on the quarterback. Now, I know Dak Prescott. To me, the best thing you may see out of Dak Prescott is Trey Lance. Because Trey Lance, if all indications are true, Trey Lance is throwing the ball around pretty well, looking pretty good. I mean, make no mistake about it. This guy was a top 3 pick. Yeah. San Francisco, who, everyone, gives Shanahan his flowers. They traded a lot to get Trey Lance, to get up to get him. So he's got talent. And if he shows out, they're going to play him a lot in preseason. If he shows out, he's going to push Dak. I think that's going to make Dak better. I think it's going to make him better. And I think competition makes you better. And I think one of the flaws that the Cowboys, had, and I know it's hard, but they never drafted, like to Ultra's point, they never drafted a quarterback high to give maybe Prescott a little push, maybe a little anger. I mean, Tom Brady, the Patriots drafted, I think, 2 quarterbacks in the first round during Brady's time. Jalen Hurts was drafted in the 2nd round after they paid Carson Wentz in Philly. So you see that. I mean, Aaron Rodgers was drafted when Brett Favre still, was there. And Aaron Rodgers, maybe he was near the end, but Aaron Rodgers was still wanting to play, and the Packers get Jordan Love. So there's been teams that have done it, The Cowboys haven't, but maybe this might be something to push Dak Prescott a little bit more.
I think it will. I think it will because indications are Trey is maturing. He's maturing. Yeah, he got drafted high. He was playing with North Dakota State, and he got drafted high, and he wasn't playing a lot of Division I teams, but he was still good. And they brought him in, and they thought he was going to come in and just right away take off. But you have to nurture somebody like that. You have to build around them and get them ready. And when they got Brock, they did with Trey just what Jerry did when Dak came in for injured Romo. All of a sudden, oh, look at this shiny penny. Oh, we're not going back to Romo. Romo's, wait a minute, can I still compete for the job? No. We're going Dak. And that's what they did with Brock. Now, it paid off for him with Brock. But Trey, I think now is a lot more mature in the game. He's had a time to process a lot more. And right now, he's starting to show it. Now, preseason will really show what he has if he has it. And if he's showing some promise, Jerry,
they're going to play him. They're going to play him.
And with the situation with Dak going on and the contracts and stuff, if he sees that shiny penny step in for Dak for a few games and plays lights out, Jerry, he's one of those guys that prematurely pulls the plug, and he might pull it or decide, look, we're going to drag this contract out with Dak, and if Dak's gone, he's gone. I wouldn't quite do that. Don't do it. But Trey is showing that we finally got a quarterback in now behind a starter that can give the starter a run for their money and may be our future. Who knows? But one of the other issues that the Cowboys need to address, which we didn't, is the running back position. And I still think we should have got another linebacker somewhere. That running back position, I don't care what he says about going all in on these young guys. We need a running back. We got to have that running game. I don't care what else he goes out and gets. We need a running back. The 3 running backs we got now, I can't look at either one of them and say they are going to keep the defense on their toes to allow our passing game. I can't say that. And when you don't address it, Jerry, some way or the other, to get us a bona fide running back there, I don't know what you're expecting out of this season.
Well, that's going to be, it's going to put more pressure on the quarterbacks. There's no doubt about it. And I love Zeke coming back. I think Zeke is going to have a role, but he's not the lead dog role. That's just not what it's going to be. And I don't know. We all wanted Rico to get the ball more, so I guess maybe he's going to get his chance. The Jets, Kelly, I think we joked around on Twitter today. The Jets got like 12 running backs. They're going to have to – they can't keep them all. I think you're going to have some teams that are going to drop some running backs. Now, are they going to be the creme de la creme? Maybe not. An offensive line could a physical offensive line could help an average running back become a good running game, right? And a good running game to become great running game. So, and you've seen history has proven over the last few years that you don't necessarily need that, elite running back. They just need to get hot at the right time. Like Pacheco got hot both times, like the playoff run. All of a sudden he gets going. I go back to like Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette sucked with the Buccaneers until the playoffs. All of a sudden, this Leonard Fournette came out of nowhere. It's like, who the hell is this guy? So I just think that, they can make it work. Now, I'm old school. I would like to have – I'm a lead dog guy. I'm Emmitt Smith, Tony Dorsett, and I love that, but it's a different game. It's just a different game. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But, looking at, all the offense. Then I want to flip to the defense. I don't know how much time you got, Greg. We can be here all night if you want.
I got all the time in the world. You understand? Greg Neighbors is a retired U.S. Air Force defense contractor. I got time to talk Cowboys.
But who is your breakout? And you guys in the chat, who is the breakout guy that you're looking for on offense? Whether it be in receiver, tight end, running back, obviously quarterback is not much of a breakout unless you think Trey Lance is going to be your quarterback. But who's the guy that is just you think will explode this year on offense?
I know this is going to sound weird, but the guy that I think is going to be the person that's going to make the offense explode is the offensive coordinator. It's the offensive coordinator. The way he spreads the ball around our receivers, Cavante, Tolbert, and the way he spreads the ball around those receivers. And if we get a running back, that's going to be the $1 million person that I think is going to make the difference. That can't do it by itself. CD can't do it by itself. Brandon Cooks can't do it by itself. Tolbert needs more opportunities. Cavante needs more opportunities. Cavante can get past anybody in the defensive backfield, and Dak can just throw it up. Cavante will get it. But we got to have more plays designed for him. We got a decent offensive line now where we may not miss a step with the offensive linemen that we've drafted, and we got younger legs, and they're fresh and healthy. So my big, I guess you want to say, the most valuable person on offense for me is the offensive coordinator. How he gets that ball around him. I'm not looking at any individual player on it, because no individual player comes to mind to me on offense.
Well, we got a lot of and football champion in the Cowboys cave, and I guess Greg, you know, you're part of the family, so you're gonna get your first crack at seeing if you can take that title. We got to get some new players, so we'll ask some people, you know, maybe get a new group of people, but the defending champion stays. I mean, that's how it works. I mean, you got to be able to defend your title. So EJ's great. He hadn't invited me to be on the show in a while. I don't know if maybe I'm not entertaining enough, but maybe when the season starts, we'll work something out, man. We'll get him on there, but definitely go to Boys in the Zone. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, that's another great, you know, content creator, another great show, another great person. Talking Cowboys, man. You can't. It's all good. But Ferguson is a name that comes up a lot. That's my name. I got his jersey. I think Ferguson can have that. And I hate to use the word Kelsey, but he's kind of like what you want to be at as a tight end. Yeah. I think he's going to be the guy to really have a huge breakout year, because you can't put all the pressure on CD. I think Brandon Cooks is going to be better. Tolbert, you know, Ultra might have me in the end, because Ultra is going to probably prove himself right, prove me wrong. I thought Tolbert was going to be better, but so far it just hasn't worked. But like you said, it's about opportunity, so we'll see what happens. But I think Jake Ferguson is going to be the guy to really elevate. And I think he's one of those guys that can bring that mentality that we talked about, that this team is lacking, of leadership on the field, of physicality, of demanding greatness. Because I love Dak, I love CD. I don't know if that's their personality. It just doesn't seem like that's their personality. Ferguson, so it's gonna have to be someone else. Yeah,
you know, and Ferguson, I love Ferguson. Ferguson is probably one of the best beasts of a tight end that we've had since Jason Witten. Because remember back in the draft a few years ago, we really wanted to get Dallas Goedert. And Ferguson reminds me of a Dallas Goedert, that mentality. Come out there with his lunch bucket. He's going to pop you in the head with his lunch bucket. He's going to let you know he popped you in the head with his lunch bucket. He's going to jump over you. He's going to go through you. He's not playing as a possession tight end. He's playing as, give me the ball and let me show you who I can run over. And I love that. And we've needed that type of tight end since Jason Witten. And Ferguson is the money. Schultz was good, but Schultz to me was more of a possession tight end. And Schultz wasn't really going in there trying to take those hits and prove to people that I can run you over. Ferguson is a whole different dude. Ferguson is a beast. He follows the mold of the tight ends we had back from Crosby, Novacek, Billy Joe Dupree, and Jason Witten, and those type of guys. And Ferguson given more opportunities as well. And I think they used him a lot during the season. So I'm not concerned about his opportunities. They'll come. That's going to be an asset for our offense as well. But Ferguson, he can block. He will block. He don't mind taking a hit, and he'll go out there and get that ball and hit you like he's blocking. So Ferguson, in my book, is A1. We don't have to worry about him. Just need to keep him healthy.
Yeah. No, the only thing that worries me about Ferguson, I'll be honest with you, is what gets me a little concerned is, you know, he's hanging out with the girls at, you know, the Cavender girls from I think he's dating one of the twins, the Miami Heat, or not Miami Hurricane basketball, the twins. They left, now they're back, and you know, I got to keep that mind right. You know, women weaken legs. I want to make sure he keeps that mentality and make sure he stays tough. I'm only kidding. I'm just joking. So no one yell at me about it. But the distraction always worries me with guys. But I think Ferguson he wants to be great, and I think he's going to be great. And I'm excited to see it. But I'm also excited to see my man's on vacation. He's on vacation, and he's never too busy to come in his home, into the cave.
And he's in there pumping. He's in the gym working it out too, sweating out.
What's going on, fellas? I had to stop in and I had to stop in real quick, just make an appearance. I couldn't let you guys have all the fun.
Well, I figured you're on vacation and you went to Six Flags. I mean, was it as is it hot as hell? It's got to be. But how good?
Dude, it's ridiculous down here. Every time I come down to Texas, I think to myself, there's a reason why I've decided to stay in Omaha as long as I have, man. I love Texas, man, but only for a certain amount of time, only in small doses.
So what is your, I know you've been listening, and you and I have talked about this a lot at nauseum sometimes of how could Dallas get over the hump, or what's wrong with Dallas, or why can't we seem to get it? I mean, what's your kind of overall observation for the new people listening? We got a bunch of new people in the channel today. What's your thoughts, Kelly?
My whole thing, I guess, with the Cowboys, I feel like it's really the players that hold themselves back. I mean, because ultimately those are the ones that are on the field, because it's kind of like that debate about who made the Patriots dynasty. Was it Bill Belichick or was it Tom Brady? Was somewhere in the middle, right? I think Belichick had a certain amount of credit for it, but you look at Brady and then kind of look what he did. Then he goes to Tampa, wins a championship there. I think you need great leaders, and you need people that will hold themselves accountable. And I think when a guy like, CeeDee Lamb starts getting the yips in the playoffs, Dak Prescott got to be the guy to go over and calm him down. You saw it was Mike McCarthy that was kind of over there. Dak did have a little exchange with him on the field, but Dak needs to be that presence on the field, man, that calms everybody down, that takes control of the reins and says, hey, guys, look, we are the same team that won 12 games this year. We're the same team that was right there. We should have, we were there. We should have beat Miami. We're this team that can compete with some of the better teams in this league. We can do it, but they got to be accountable for it, and they got to hold themselves accountable, and they have to have some type of pride in these bad performances. You can't get your ass whooped against Green Bay and then just sit there and shrug it off like it's no big deal. Well, we'll come back next year. We'll try this thing again next year. No, you got to be pissed off about that. And I can't remember who it was that coined the phrase. I don't remember if it was Tom Landry. I think it might have been, but it's one of my favorite phrases. And you gotta hate to lose more than you love to win. And that's what the Cowboys attitude needs to be on all 53 players on this team, because I mean, they've got the talent. You look at the talent that's come through this organization, Hall of Fame players. You talked about it earlier, Mike, when you said that, this team has had teams that were Super Bowl caliber rosters, right? Well, if that's the case, I mean, what is it? Why can't they get over that hump? And I think there's a lot of different things to play in the factor. There's luck that hasn't gone our way. You look at that Dez Bryant catch in Green Bay. That was a horrible. It bounced horrible our way. You look at just different things. Patrick Creighton dropping that ball in 2000 against the Giants. 2007. I mean, just different things that haven't went our way.
I mean, we've had our hearts ripped out so many damn times in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you've got a lot of different things that just haven't went our way. But I think ultimately it comes down to these players, because I think that, I do think that Jerry does to an extent provide a country club atmosphere, and he's one of those guys that's buddy with the players. You know what I mean? They host a fight at AT&T Stadium, and he's got his players up there with him. Even whether it was Tony Romo up there and Jason Witten up in the box with them and stuff. I mean, you can be an owner and not be buddy with your players. You know what I mean? Be the owner, but let them know that, hey, the only thing that is acceptable in this organization is winning. Anything less, and I'll ship your ass out of here. You know what I mean? And I just don't think Jerry really has that kind of attitude or personality. So I think, but again, ultimately, I think it's these players, man. I think that they're more than capable of doing it. I think Dak Prescott's more than talented enough to do it. But when the playoffs come, he has to play his best. He has to be that leader that Troy Aikman was.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it; those are big shoes to fill, but that's what's needed. And if we're gonna get over the hump.
And just a quick thought, what's your Mike Thomas? I mean, you heard that, Michael Thomas. I mean, is that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I know a lot of people said, I don't know, two people would be excited.
Yeah, I saw it. I don't know. I don't really see where he fits on this roster. He's an aging receiver. I think this team has kind of shown that they want to go the youth route. I think that they want to get, younger, not older. And, we have one of the youngest rosters in the league in terms of starters. And I think Jalen Tolbert, I think people were looking at him to kind of make that jump this year. So, if you bring in Michael Thompson,
for the jump, Kelly.
Well, I don't think that, I think they started to give him some chances last year towards the end of the season. He started to capitalize on it, started to gain some confidence. Yeah. And I think that's what's given this roster. I think that's why you didn't see him draft a wide receiver. Did we draft a wide receiver at all this year?
Yeah,
we drafted really late.
Yeah, real late.
Okay. I think that's. Yeah, and I think that's why they didn't draft a receiver, early on, is because I think they do have confidence in Jalen Tolbert to kind of make that jump this year. So, I think that I don't think adding a wide receiver to this team right now is really anything that they need to worry about or prioritize. I think they've got a good core of wide receiver. They got some young guys in there, whether it's Tolbert, Brooks, and I think Cooks is going to have a good season this year again, with the second year with Dak Prescott, more chemistry, right? So I think we're good at receiver. If anything, man, honestly, I still think they need to be looking at the running back position, man. I'm still digging there, man. I know at this point it's kind of bargain bin shopping, but you look at how many running backs are on the roster right now. I don't think they really have confidence in that running back room right now. I don't think anybody in the front office looking at that going, yeah, this is the roster that's these running backs, they're good. You know what I mean? So that's what still worries me. It's not receivers, running back.
And you wonder, I don't know, if you think the running backs that we have on the roster, do you think at the end of the season our lead running back is not on the roster? Do you think, Greg and Kelly, do you think there's going to be a running back added at some point?
If we add another running back, I think we'll add a running back in the during camp when other teams release running backs or put them on the waiver wires. I think that's our last ditch effort right now, based on the cap that Jerry's going to be counting on, is that we're going to get lucky and get a running back that's going to fall and go on the waiver wires. But I wouldn't be relying on that. It's like Kelly. We can beat a dead horse, man, but I have no idea what the hell we are doing and why we didn't do anything about the running back position. It's not like we said, let's get somebody to compliment. We need them bad. We need one bad, and I don't get it. I don't get it. And I don't care how we improve the rest of the team, offensive, defense. We have to have a two-dimensional offense. They got to be multidimensional to be able to balance the game. And if we're relying on our pass, we're relying on Dak to have to put the ball in the air more often than the percentages are. The more often you put the ball in the air, the more interceptions that's gonna occur. And then you get in those critical positions where you need a first down and you don't have that beast of a running back, you might throw the ball away, or you might not be able to find somebody open. I just don't get it. And I don't see any secret method that Jerry's got on the table that nobody knows about, that he's going to come out of the blue somewhere and get a running back. And we're going to say, that's what he was thinking. No, I don't get it. I don't get it. And it's puzzling and it's mesmerizing. And I don't know where they expect us to move deep in the playoffs without one.
No, you need it. And let me get a couple shout outs quick, because Mark had a couple super chats. He blames Jerry. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's putting all that blame on Jerry, but he says we got really good guys, but the weak link is the supporting cast isn't good. We got Parsons. Who else on the D line? Linebackers, and you got CD, and who else do you got? I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I think this team does have talent on the roster. I know they didn't add a lot, but I still see, D-Law. I know, the comment in the end really rubs people the wrong way, and there's no making excuses for that. But he's still one of, in his position, he's still one of the top, 10, 15, whatever you want to call it, guys in his position. So he's still an upper tier player. I mean, Brandon Cooks is still a good number two. I mean, Ferguson, if you add him in there, I think we've got the weapons. I think we've got I think we got some of the role players. So I don't know if I agree totally with that, but I get your point. But flipping to the defense, Kelly and Greg, is look at the defensive line. That's where most of the criticism is going to be, our ability to stop the run. Let's think about Zimmer's defense. You got to think there's going to be an impact there. you know, what I think Steven, someone in the chat, I apologize. We started getting a bunch of comments in before I could catch them all. But, you know, we've got real linebackers now playing linebacker, right? So I don't think we're going to I think that's going to improve. I think the critical part for me is our defensive tackles. So I'll start with you, Kelly, and then Greg. What's your thoughts on this D-line, especially focusing on the run defense, because that's our Achilles heel over the past several years? Kelly?
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's what I've kind of been nervous about as far as my biggest concern was, you know, everybody was O-line, and I think me and you, Mike, were kind of on the same page going into the draft, at least. You know, I'm not sure if you were saying D-line at that point, but I number one priority, and it wasn't mine either. I was more concerned with the D-line just because I'm like, hey, look, we haven't been able to stop the run past couple of years. Now, I don't know if that goes to the front office's just confidence in the fact that they think Zimmer is more technically sound D coordinator, that he'll be able to shore that up with what we have. But I just, you know, when I look at just everything top to bottom, man, just the front seven period, linebackers and defensive line, the interior defensive line, I'm not. So, I mean, you know, I'm reading Falcon was, you know, is saying, he's talking about, you know,
he's a Michigan fan, you know that.
Confident in Mozzie, and I'm not confident in him. I saw nothing from him, you know, he lost the weight, you know, that had the big weight drop. No, you know, and that's the thing too, man. Nobody's talking about that. Nobody's saying why he lost that weight. Nobody's saying anything about Mozzie. Never has came out and said Quinn asked him to lose the weight. The coaching staff is never saying Quinn asked him to lose weight. Nobody said that Mozzie did it on his own. There's no real answers there. The team dances all around that. So, you know, you kind of got to wonder about that whole situation with Mozzie Smith. Like, is there something deeper going on with this guy that we maybe don't know about? Because they've been real hush on that. And I'm not confident in the interior of that defensive line. I don't think that they got better. I mean, you know, I don't think they lost anybody that was like a huge irreplaceable piece. It was just about what they brought in. They didn't bring in pieces so it's thin. You're razor thin at that position right now. And so you're talking about, okay, so where we've got Mozzie and we've got Osa. Well, you know, if Mozzie goes down, if Osa goes down, like what are we working with there outside of kind of what we've got in the middle of that defensive line? It's not anything that I feel confident in. And, you know, and then when you dig a little bit deeper to that second level, to the linebackers, you know, I keep saying we've got a lot of unknowns, man, outside of Kendrick. You know, we don't really know what Overshown's going to be. We don't know what, so it's like your run defense is your biggest problem. So has that improved? Do you feel a lot better about the run defense? I don't. Me personally, I don't. I think that Zimmer is going to be better. But I think that this team is going to have to make a move, and they're going to have to add somebody to that defensive line before the season begins. Because if not, I think teams are going to continue to do what they did all year last year. They're just going to line up and run it right down our throats. And I don't think we got the personnel to stop that right now.
And they're going to get tested early with that schedule, so if they can't stop.
Oh, they will. Absolutely, they will.
Quickly. What do you think, Greg?
I think that Zimmer is going to be a master player in this situation because we picked up Nealon in the draft. We got Rodgers in the draft on defensive tackles, and Rodgers is playing defensive tackle, and the guard. Not guard, but what's his name? Marshawn Nealon, defensive end. And I'm hoping that Tank is re-energized when these young guys come in and start showing what they can do in camp. And that re-energizes him to play his best game. Because Tank's been around a while. A lot of people don't realize that. He's been around a while. And that'll re-motivate him. But Zimmer, I think Zimmer having these two fresh defensive linemen and his mentoring on these two defensive linemen, you know, when, like we used to say in the Air Force, don't show somebody the shortcut way of doing something and then tell them this is the right way of doing it, because they'll always refer to the shortcut. Show them the right way to do it, and they won't know any other way to do it. And if he does that with Nealon and Rodgers may boost that defensive line like we need them to do. And then you got Mozzie, and then you got Tank coming in, and then Michael. I have way more opportunities one-on-one probably, because they'll realize, well, we can't double team Michael because look, they got Nealon, they got Rodgers, Mozzie stepped up, Tank stepped up. So now we've got some opportunities. I mean, they got some opportunities over there to get around us, and they can stop the run. Linebacker, we got, I don't know how you pronounce his name, Luifa. We got him in linebacker, and we got Kendrick. We got Kendricks, and we got him. Okay, the rookie's going to come in, and he's going to want to set a precedent on that linebacker position. Now, Marquise doesn't have to come in as a defensive back and play linebacker, but I still think we need another linebacker. We need another linebacker back there strong. And if we pick up one on the waiver wires, because I think Jerry's looking at the last resort is to pick up some key players during the waiver wires, during camp, when folks start getting released, that may help us, because he's looking at that. Maybe that might be a diamond in the rough. But if we get another linebacker, I'll feel a lot better than how I feel right now, because otherwise they're going to still bring Marquise in to play some linebacker with those other two guys.
Well, are you lost faith in Damone Clark? I mean, he's your other true linebacker.
Who?
Clark?
Who?
Damone Clark? You know faith?
Who?
Faith?
Who?
He's not 33 anymore, so at least.
Well, they, right now, they actually, and this, obviously this can change, but I did see something today where they were saying that they've got Damone Clark projected as a starter.
I think he's gonna be. I think
they've got Kendricks, Overshone, and Clark as your 3 starting linebackers as it stands right now. Now that can change.
Yeah.
It can change. It can change in training camp and then through OTAs and stuff. But as of right now on the roster, those are your 3 starting linebackers right now. So that's Clark. The thing with Clark is, he might. It's Zimmer and Quinn. The way they use their linebackers are different. It's totally different.
Yeah.
And so this may be something to where it may be one of those things where Clark benefits from this coaching change. So. Again, I'm not willing to bet any kind of money on that, because again, I think that there's like I've been saying, I think with the linebackers, there's a lot of things. There's no jersey bet, but I think there's a lot of unproven with these linebackers right now. So you're kind of depending on things to go the way that you want them to go, and you want to be optimistic about it. But you also have to have that in the back of your mind that, hey, this may not work out. Yeah. Damone Clark may not do better under Zimmer. And and so we'll see. Game Time does mention that he was good against. He was doing good until Van Der Esch went down. He'll be fine next to Kendrick. So I mean, like I said, I mean, it's all something we'll see play out, and we'll know pretty quick how that works. You'll hear in training camp, and we'll figure that out pretty quick.
Yeah, and I like Clark better now that he's not wearing 33. That was a good choice. I mean, that used to just piss me. I don't know why, but it pissed me off. I mean, linebacker
get the 33 off, and
it's like,
Speaking of numbers, isn't Zeke going to go back to his Ohio State number?
He's 15.
Yeah, he's going to 15.
So hey, I know Kelly, and I don't know how much time you got, and you've been hanging here in the dark or whatever, but I did say that we, definitely, while we got all you guys in here, we want to show love to a couple podcasts, and these are guests that have been on the show, and one's going to be on the show. Tony Hill started a podcast, Breakfast with Boys, with his son. He talked about it on our show. He's had Roger Staubach, Tony Dorsett, and Drew Pearson on so far. Pretty damn good start.
Mm-hmm.
So
there we go.
Go over and hit subscribe, and in a comment, let him know the Cowboys Cave sent you. Make sure you show Tony Hill some love. Let him know we sent you. And then the other one was Preston Pearson, who's going to be on our show. He's got a podcast going, so definitely check him out as well. Hey, you guys run something real quick because my battery's dying. I forgot to plug it in.
Oh,
hey,
well,
so listen, speaking of Zeke, quiet as it's kept, Kelly, I think Zeke, and you see this in sports, I think Zeke is coming back and realizing I got a second chance of coming back home. Man, whatever it's going to take for me to go out there and try to instill some of those days I had when I was just a beast, I'm going to do everything I can, and hopefully Jerry give me 2 good years to do it, and then help teach these other running backs what they need to know, because a lot of people say, oh, Zeke's old, he's washed up. Listen, when you realize in sports, when somebody leaves the team under the circumstances he left, and he really wish he was still with the team, and all of a sudden there's an opportunity for him to come back 1 year later, you better believe Zeke is going to come in and give us everything he's got. And I guarantee you it'll be better with him back there this year than we were last year without him, with the 3 running backs we had. So I'm feeling real good about Zeke coming back, but I still feel we need that future beast back there to help us back there to give us that balance. Because if we get that balance with a future beast or a diamond in the rough that sneaks in the waivers, and all of a sudden he's talked about so much, and this person comes in, as our boy Eugene would say, hungry, then I feel like it's going to help us tremendously, because now everybody realizes, Dallas has a running game now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm optimistic when it comes to Zeke. Obviously, I want him to succeed. I definitely would never root against Zeke. I just, I know that he's going up against Father Time, and Father Time's record is really good when it comes to running backs. You rarely see a resurgence in running backs, but it could be one of those things where it's like, kind of like how we saw Mark Ingram kind of had a really good season. But, my only thing with that, though, was when Mark Ingram had that kind of resurgence to where I think he had double-digit touchdowns that year. I want to say he had 14 touchdowns that year with the Saints. He was their goal line guy, but they had a really young running back and a young Alvin Kamara. And we don't have that right now for Zeke. So it kind of depends on what their plan is. Because if their plan is to roll Zeke out there and give him 20 carries a game, I don't think that's a good formula. And I don't think that's going to work well for the Cowboys. I just don't see that happening. But, if the offensive line is better, because I thought last year the offensive line was not great. They're some of the run blocking schemes, watching Pollard get hit in the backfield, guys get, hit, in the backfield before they even got to the line of scrimmage was not a good thing. So if the run blocking gets better, then obviously that is beneficial for both sides, Zeke and, the Cowboys run offense. So, we'll see what happens. I know Zeke's excited, and I know he's working hard, and I said, I'm an Ezekiel Elliott fan. I think he's a great teammate, and I think he's a good run blocker. He's a guy that you've never heard anything negative about him as far as a good teammate, good locker room guy. So you need guys like that on your team. So I'm happy he's back, but we'll see what happens this year.
Yeah, he's always given everything he's had. I mean, that's the thing that kind of puts me. Sometimes people want to talk about this and they want to talk about that. When that dude, he didn't miss many games, if any. I don't really.
Well, played injured. He played injured.
Yeah.
Always played injured.
Yeah, he always left everything on the field, and I mean, it's tough. I mean, this is a grueling game, and it does a number to your body. So yeah, is he the same guy he was in 2016? Yeah, probably not. But I think pass protection, short yardage, and goal line, I think that's an area where he could be effective. Go look at, like Mark Ingram with the Saints, and that he could have a career like that where just, he can definitely help out. So looking at, we talked about D-line, we talked about linebackers, the secondary. So you got Diggs coming back off an injury. He's enjoying himself watching some basketball. So he looks like he's in midseason form. You got Bland. You got Jay Lou. I mean, Eric Scott, I know he was drafted last year. He said he's ready to, for his opportunity. So, and they drafted another cornerback. I can't remember in the draft, man. I'm on vacation.
Kalen Carson.
Yeah. I know there were some high things said on him. So this, between the cornerbacks and the safeties, how are you guys feeling about that level of the defense? And this is Zimmer's. This is his spot, right? Secondary's kind of where he cut his teeth with the Cowboys early on. So you got to think, and then with Al Harris, obviously still here, you got to think that they got some great coaches for that secondary.
Well, I'm glad Al Harris didn't take the bait and go to Washington. Woo, man, that would have hurt us tremendously. Al Harris is exactly what we need back there for those DBs. This is somebody who played the game. This is somebody who stays in touch with the game. This is somebody who knows the details of what needs to be done. Now, Zimmer has come out and said, we may not be the turnover machine that you're accustomed to seeing. And he said, well, that's okay, because the way our defense is going to play, we may not have to rely on that. And I'm kind of worried about that, because it's either because Zimmer doesn't have the experience and showing a defensive backfield how to take certain risks to go out and get the ball, or he's a little bit more conservative than like Al Harris. But hopefully Al Harris and Zimmer can get together, and Al Harris can say, look, I know how you feel about we may not be the type of team to get as many turnovers as we are accustomed to, but listen, let me show you what we do and how we do it, and let's see if we can meet middle ground on it, because one of the biggest assets we had last year was the takeaways and how we took them away. That was the most aggressive defensive backfield and cornerbacks and safeties that I've seen in years for the Cowboys. I mean, for Deron Bland to break that record the way he did, and then other cornerbacks and safeties coming there and steal balls where typically it would be a routine catch on the tackle. We need to stay that way. We don't need to get away from it and be conservative. So if Zimmer will allow Harris to have the input he wants and let him do what he does without handicapping him and putting the cuffs on him, I think we'll be okay. I don't have a big concern about the backs on the defense. I just hope Trayvon Diggs comes out and he gets over that mentality of, well, I got to make these sharp cuts and I'm worried about my injury. After a few games in, you kind of forget about all that and you just start playing ball. And if he comes in there and he does that, we'll be okay. Yeah, and the thing, I want Kelly to jump in, but the thing I'd say, and Kelly respond to my point, the flip side of the takeaways is big plays given up. And that's the balance that they've got to have. And that's why Zimmer is a little bit more conservative where it comes to the taking those chances in the secondary. He's more of a physical kind of guy, stop the run first, and then try, those things will happen. So, I mean, Kelly and I saw some pretty damn big plays in a couple of them games we went to. But I get the point. Turnovers are huge, but there's a balance that they're gonna probably have with him. But Kelly, go ahead. What's your thoughts on the secondary?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good secondary. It's a really good secondary. A lot of good talent, a lot of good playmakers back there. And I think, what's good is that we'll have that secondary here together for at least this year and then maybe one more year after that. Because, you got Bland coming into year 3, who have one more year after this year. And then, I think I saw somebody, that comment right there from Danny. I don't think you're going to be able to keep that Diggs and Bland combo together if the ascension keeps going. Now, if you see a drop off or something in Bland's play, and maybe over the next 2 years, if you saw a drop off, which I don't foresee that coming, then maybe we could talk about it. But yeah, we've got, you got to look at it. You got this year, and then you've got next year that you could have them, and then you got to make a decision on it, because obviously Bland's only going to have 4 years under that rookie contract. He's coming into his 3rd year now, but if you can get this really great year out of these guys, I mean, this is kind of the year you want to. You wanted to see this team actually truly be an all-in team because of some of the pieces that you do have on this team that you're going to have to make decisions on, some hard decisions, on this defense with some of these players, because we have drafted so well. So, I mean, but with what we have right now, I'm excited about it. I'm definitely excited about the potential and the capabilities of this secondary. And I think that even with Zimmer's style, the way that he the way that he does, the way that he coaches, I still think even with the way that Zimmer coaches, I still think we're going to see turnovers, just because, I mean, Diggs and Bland are just ball hawks, and that's not something you coach. That's just a natural ability to go out there and get the ball. And those guys track the ball, I would say arguably better than any other DB in the league. I think that they're the 2 best ball hawks in the NFL right now in terms of cornerbacks. I'd say it's a 1A and a 1B between those 2 guys. And it's rare that you have an NFL defense with not just 1 but 2 DBs that can take the ball away from like that. I mean, it's rare. So that's one of these times where you want to capitalize on the fact that you got these, because if not, what you're going to do is you're going to look back 3 years from now and you're going to say, damn, man, we had because Bland, if he ends up on another team or gets traded or whatever, you're going to look back at it and you're going to say, man, we had 2 of the best DBs in the NFL on this defense, and we didn't do nothing with it. So, I mean, I'm excited about the potential of it. I was excited about it last year. Unfortunately, it got taken away with injuries with Diggs, but I think we're going to be just fine in that secondary.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. I agree. Obviously, there's some, some anti-Diggs stuff in here, but that goes without saying. It goes without saying. Some people think Diggs is, Diggs not going to be ready till week 8. Didn't he get hurt? When he hurt in practice in week 2?
He got hurt he got hurt very early on. He's gonna be ready to go. He'll be good to go.
I'd be shocked. Another super chat, so we'll definitely I know we talked about the running game. He talked about Zeke. Zeke will improve some things, but bottom line, father time. I mean, it takes a toll. I agree. He doesn't think the rookie will be better than a 7-year center. I don't think he was there. That Biotis wasn't a 7-year center or Tyron, but I get what you're saying. I would say this. Would what we have be better than Tyron Smith? No, but I mean Tyron Smith's got to be there to play too.
Yeah, he's got to be there to
play. Injuries take a toll, just like you say, Father Time does. But with Tyron, I mean his play has unfortunately declined a little bit over time with injuries and everything else. And availability is most important. I was never a fan of Biotis, so I think what they have is better than Biotis. I think Biotis just got pushed all over the place. So I have zero problem with him leaving. I have more of a problem with Tyron Smith leaving than I do Biotis. I don't know if you guys have.
Now, I think some of those guys went with Quinn because they knew they were diminished on our Cowboys team. They went with Quinn because that was easy. Oh, you want me to go with you? Sure, because I know I'm not playing up to my capabilities here. And if I go with you over here, because that's a free one, you just want me to bring me over there with you. So I know I'm automatically on the team. So some of those players, we didn't, with Tyron, yes. Because if he stays healthy, we got the magician on offensive line. This man is smart, mature, he's meticulous, but he can't stay on the field because of injuries. But those guys that went with Quinn, they saw the writing on the wall. If they didn't leave with Quinn, they're probably going to be released by us. So we didn't lose a lot.
Yeah, and I'm not saying he was bad. I didn't like him. That doesn't mean he wasn't good. I just don't think they'd miss him, and I don't think he was worth the money that, it's a money game, right? Yep. I mean, if they could draft BB or Hoffman they had there that can be better, and I think they will be better, then I would, it's as I say, it's a business. Got to make business decisions. You can't have all pros at every position. I'm not saying Biotis was an all pro, but there's certain positions where you get value. You got to have some value because we got to sign our quarterback, receiver, and linebacker. So we'll leave you with this. And Kelly, you got the Dak contract. You felt very strong about it. It's going to get done in your eyes. You're willing to bet a jersey if someone wants to challenge you to that. So I bring you to CD as well. Parsons, I don't think that's an issue this year. I think they want to throw him in there. I think that's a next year thing. But what's your latest thoughts on the CD? On the Dak, do you think both get done, one or the other? What's your thoughts? And then Greg, give you a chance to give your thoughts. And then
I think both deals get done. I couldn't tell you and begin to speculate what the holdup is on why they haven't got done. No idea. I mean, it's not like the Cowboys don't have the money to do this thing. It's not like there's other deals that are pending that they're like, we got to get this deal done first. I think they both get done. I don't really know what the holdup is, but I'm confident that both of them get done. I think that, you got to sign, you don't have to, but I think CD, how do you let go a guy that you drafted? This is what you look for. This is what you go through in the process. You draft guys with the hopes that they turn into what CD Lamb turned into. You don't sit there and shy away from it when it's time to pay a guy. You pay the guy because you don't have another CD Lamb on your team right now. And if you don't pay CD Lamb, who's catching the ball for you this year? If he decides to hold out, So I think CD Lamb's deal gets done. I think Dak Prescott's deal get done again. I don't really know why they haven't yet at this point, but I'm confident both those deals get done before the season starts.
Yeah, it's typical Jerry Jones negotiations. That's why they haven't got done. Jerry doesn't rush on any negotiations when it comes like this. This is typical playbook for Jerry Jones in negotiations. And sometimes I think he holds out thinking, well, Lamb really wants to be here. Dak really wants to be here. So there's somewhere along the line I can get a little bit cheaper. And he's going to try that. But everybody's used to Jerry Jones dragging out negotiations. Both will happen because he is the next christening of 88. And you don't get rid of that game changer and you put that number on him and you bless him with the lineage of the other 88s. And then all of a sudden, after just a few years, you let them go. No, they'll get done. Both of those will get done. It's just typical Jerry Jones negotiations. That's what I see. I don't see anything different in how he negotiates to sign people, but they'll both get signed.
Yeah. I mean, does it bother you as a fan? And I hate to bring Houston up, but you kind of see what they're doing. And then they got that young receiver, Nico Collins. They went ahead. I mean, he wasn't due for no contract coming up, but they went ahead and gave him 3 years, $72 million, 52 guarantee, which if he plays to his potential, what he's at, that's going to be a bargain. I mean, looking at what receivers do, we've done it a couple times, right? And they've kind of backfired on Dallas. Like they tried to get, Jalen Smith on the, before his contract was up. And then obviously that was a bad decision. They did the same with Michael Gallup coming off an injury. I think it was coming off an injury, and they thought they could sneak some value to get him. That didn't work out. But you see these other teams be a little bit more aggressive with their stars. Like I look at, Nico, he's been a star for Houston, breakout kind of guy. I don't understand the Cowboys' philosophy because you'd think that CD you could have got done earlier. You probably could have thrown some money at him. You knew he was going to be a stud. The price is never going to be down. You wonder if CD is just waiting for Justin Jefferson to get his deal. Is he waiting for Dak Prescott to get his deal? Because he's like, you're not going to leave me here. You know what I mean? If I don't have a quarterback, if I'm not confident in that. So I think the deals get done. It's just the Cowboys and Stephen Jones. I might as well throw him in the loop into it. I just wonder why this happens with this team. And I don't know. I'm not a GM. I'm not a capologist. So you got to method to the madness. I don't know.
You think about it though, and then Greg's got a point though. I mean, if you think about pretty much almost every guy that we've signed to a contract, it's went down basically to the wire. You had the Zeke thing where Zeke was holding out. It came to obviously he wanted his contract a little bit early, but still, Cowboys knew that was coming. There was other running backs that were doing the same thing, wanted their money. But Dak Prescott, they could have signed him earlier when, you looked at the Eagles. They went and signed Carson Wentz. They're like, you know what? That's our guy. We're signing him. They didn't have any hesitancy to sign him, but the Cowboys waited and they waited and they waited and they waited and then ended up having to pay Dak Prescott, a larger contract than what they would have had to had they signed him before the Eagles signed Carson Wentz. And I think that it's those kind of things where it's like you see these other deals get done. Well, then the Cowboys got to come in over top of all those deals. Yeah. Whereas if you come in there because I guarantee you, if 3 months ago, if the Cowboys come to CeeDee Lamb and they say, here's your deal, it's going to make you the highest paid receiver in the NFL. I don't think he's turning that down, going, well, hold up, let me see what Justin Jefferson gets because I want to beat his deal. Like, I think he's looking at it going, you know what? That's a fair deal. You made me the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. So now it's up to Justin Jefferson's camp to come in over the top of that if they want to be the highest paid. So the Cowboys it's in my opinion, I don't know if it's Steven or I don't know if it's Jerry, but I think it's honestly, in my opinion, I think it's kind of piss poor negotiating because I think if you know what these guys are worth, I think the market value is pretty much set for these guys. Cut the deal for these dudes, man, and make the deal for these guys because if you put a great deal in front of a great player, they're not going to turn it down. And I mean, what these numbers go for. You got the capologist guys out there, you got the agents, they know what Dak Prescott's contract is going to be. They know what it needs to be. They know what CeeDee Lamb needs to be, where he needs to be at this point right now in relation to the other receivers in the NFL. Just get the deal done. I mean, what are you waiting on? I mean, it drags it out. It's just like that drama, I mean, it reminds me, of the show that they used to have called Dallas. It was nothing but drama. That's the Cowboys, and we're nothing but drama. If you think about it, Jerry just loves to just dramatize everything, and I think Steven kind of follows along that line. And maybe some of it's stubbornness, maybe some of it's stinginess and cheap. But I think a lot of it is just that's the way the Cowboys do business. That's the way Jerry does business. Is just he waits, unfortunately, and it bites him.
And it does because the point you made is ground zero. If you just pay him then you don't have to sit back and watch somebody else on another team get this blockbuster deal. And now, guess what? Now you got to top that. And if you paid CeeDee Lamb and exactly in the scenario that Kelly brought up, now you can look at some money to go get a beast of a running back, because this guy's deal is behind you. Dak's deal is behind you. Now you can go get that running back. But it's like you said, stingy, cheap, and he wants to hold that dime to the last minute. And history should show him that when you do that, you put yourself behind the curve, because now you got to dish out more. So if you cheat, do it now and not later. And then maybe you could free up some money to go get a running back like we need.
Yeah. And Mark with another super chat. I mean, yeah, we answered it. Why not, John? You know, it's in front office. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know what the hell they're doing. But this has been their MO, like you guys said. It's not any surprise, and that's why I think, to your point, Kelly, they're going to get the deals done. I mean, into NFL Network and just some radio show. I mean, all the NFL insiders, there really hasn't been anyone that said, "Hey, I think the Cowboys are gonna, just
move on from that."
No. Yeah, I haven't.
Well,
heard anyone.
No, and usually stuff like that gets leaked out. Like if the Cowboys had actually decided to move on from Dak, there would be whispers, because it's hard to keep those things a secret, because it's an organizational thing. But typically there's people that find this out and they leak it to the media. You know what I'm saying? Because they know that they won't be revealed as a source, because the media doesn't reveal their sources. So they're like, hey, I'm gonna get this out there, you know what I mean, and kind of stir the hive. You haven't heard anything from within. All you've heard, Stephen Jones says that they want a deal done. Jerry says he wants to get a deal done. All the people within the organization. You've heard Jane Slater's pretty tied closely in with the Cowboys, and she's talked about it and said she foresees a deal getting done somewhere around August is where I've seen her timetable at. So I think it like I said, the deals get done. It's just the Cowboys, you would think over history should have by now seen that this comes back to bite them in their ass. It's like, look, if you just get a deal done, you don't have to come in and pay this deal. I mean, if you get Dak, if you signed Dak last year going into last year, or CD going into last year, I mean, Dak just had he had his best season last year, and so did CeeDee Lamb. So now, because you waited to pay these two dudes, their market value just rose. Their market value went up. So it's like, if you're a guy and you think Dak was your guy last year, what was going to change from last year to this year? What were you expecting to see different in terms of what you were going to pay this guy? Because if you're still going to pay him now, why wouldn't you have paid him last year? You could have got him at a cheaper deal. You could have got him at a better rate. You could have got him before he had an MVP style season. Then it would have looked like a bargain with what you got for him, because now all these quarterbacks getting signed, wide receivers getting signed, but you got your guys locked in. But it's just not how the Cowboys operate. It's not how they do business. And it's just, again, they manage the cap pretty bad, in my opinion. I know. I think the cap is overblown a lot when it comes to why we can't get certain players. I don't buy that it's cap related, because we've seen that it's not. We've seen other teams manipulate the cap, but the Cowboys just don't do business smart. There's no other way to put it. They just don't do business.
They don't work the cap like other teams do, because they're at the cap. I mean, they could tell you, hey, we're at the cap. I mean, they spend their limit.
Yeah.
But that's what happened.
They talk about the cap.
I just need 1 minute, because I try and be nice, and I like Falcon, and I do like to show love to him. But this guy is talking about my college football team. His team finally wins. Finally. 100+ years, they finally win a national title, and he's going to come talking about my Canes. I've seen him win 5. With these eyes, I've seen him win 5. You've seen 1. So pipe down, shut up about your Michigan Wolverines. They're going back to the cellar dweller, just like they did before Jim Harbaugh getting their ass whooped by Ohio State every year. So you enjoy that 1 national title. Hold on to that so tightly, because Texas Tech will whoop your ass next year.
Hey, Falcon. hey, Falcon. Let me give you a little insight of something you may not know. The head coach for the Michigan Wolverines right now, his father is my best friend. We're Air Force buddies. We served together in Panama. We served together. We talk almost every week. Sharon's father is my best friend. But now, on the other note, y'all just saw y'all last national championship for some years.
You guys shared, I think.
The ship has sailed. Good, y'all got one. I hope Sharon has a good season so it doesn't look like they left him with a flop. But Ohio State coming back with a vengeance. And as my brother says, every time he's around Ohio State people, he's a diehard. He says, OH. And I said, what's that for? He said,
I love college football. I always have. I mean, I love talking college football. It's more passionate. The fans are a lot more passionate. So I love that, Falk. And we'll get on. We're going to do a college football tournament when college football 25 finally makes a return. We're going to do a Cowboys Cave tournament, and we're going to have some fun with it. I'm not great at it, but I'll give my best shot. So we'll see what happens. But yeah. And definitely up for that. So all kidding aside, but wrapping it up. I mean, we've gone. I mean, poor Kelly, you're on vacation, but I want to give Kelly the opportunity. You got big plans this weekend. My heart is broken that I'm not going to be there, but anyone who's in the area, they're invited from what I understand. I don't want to spill the beans, but I'll let you do it.
Yeah. No, I think we've kind of put it out there a little bit, but yeah, we're going, Cuts is rolling out the red carpet, and he's got one hell of a, it's the Jonesy neighborhood bar is what he refers to it as. I would say that I would call it a man cave, but it's a little more than a man cave. It's an actual bar. The man has a keg on tap. He's got liquor. He was running the grill, so he's cooking food. He's in the 210 area code here in San Antonio, and it's a Cowboys Nation, Cowboys Cave, and Cowboys Nation throwdown there here at Jones Bar, and it's gonna be cool. So if anybody is out in the San Antonio area, I know Mark is actually coming up from Dallas. And he's going to come join. So I know there's a few people that are joining. They're outside of the area. So if you're close and nearby and you want to come, you can feel free to get at me or you can get at Cuts. Either way, you guys, everybody's welcome to come. Saturday, we're going to get together and, we're talking Cowboys, we're drinking beer, we're eating good barbecue. It should be a good time. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And it'll kind of be the cap off before I head back home, because heading back home on Sunday, I'll be driving a little bit hungover. But I got two kids with me that both have their driver's license that'll help me drive back, so get a little bit of shut eye in and don't have to drive completely all the way hungover.
Well, and that's good, and I'm going to be sad to miss. Hopefully there'll be some live video. Maybe there'll be something going on so I can act like I'll be there. But Kelly, I don't know if I didn't share it on air. I shared it off air, but some incidents that happened to me recently on the water, and so we went out real quick. We went out on a boat last weekend, and my wife breaks her wrist. So I had to take ER. So it's been a very expensive 2 weeks on the water. I might be I should have just went to San Antonio and just stay on dry land. It would have been cheaper than what I've spent so far. But yeah, I'm gonna be sad to miss it. But I'm definitely we're gonna do something. Hopefully next year, because I know you go down there every year. We'll plan it out. Give me a little bit more time to kind of get some flights that are reasonable, but we're going to do a live broadcast from Cuts for sure. We're going to have to do that.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, let me give you my announcement now.
Go ahead.
We have tickets already for the Cowboys-Ravens game. And today,
there we go.
And today I got tickets for the and flights for the Cowboys-Pittsburgh game.
There we go.
My brother's a diehard Pittsburgh fan, and he's begging me to go to the game. I said, okay, I'll go. But the Atlanta game, we want to come to, and I get you were telling me, Mike, we're gonna try to, whenever y'all decide y'all getting ready to do the Atlanta game, let me know, because like you said, we want to try to see if we can sit together.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that tailgate at the Ravens game, be at Cowboys
already
Stadium. I can't wait.
No, that's going to be a great time, man. And just a reminder, if you guys are going to the game, you don't even have to go to the game. Kelly and I learned that a lot of people that are tailgating, they don't even go inside. So you can hold down the fort of our spot, because we gave our spot away last time, and a fight broke out, which was entertaining for us.
Well, entertaining, but
but we can have an after party. But it's going to be a great deal. It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of Cowboys are coming. A lot of people in Cowboys Nation and the Cowboys Cave are going to be coming. There may be some surprise guests. Maybe a former player might be popping by. Maybe some family. There may be a few things that may happen at the Cowboys Cave tailgate. So you don't want to miss it. That's for sure. And the beauty of it is, I mean, when Kelly and I roll together, we pretty much, that's a guaranteed win for the Cowboys. So that's a must win for the Cowboys against the Ravens. So if we're there, throw Greg into the mix, I mean, and Jimmy D's going to be there, we can't lose.
Can't lose. The whole Cowboys Cave is going to be there.
Cowboys Cave, baby.
So, but yeah, so, and hopefully tomorrow night, the Mavericks, so we got the Mavericks. What do you guys think real quick on
Game
that?
5?
We think it's going to end, or we're going back? They coming back?
It's if Derek Lively plays, it's a wrap. If Derek Lively plays, it's a wrap. There was a big difference from when he's playing to when he's not playing. I said that when I was commenting on you guys' show, Mike, on Monday before I came down here, and I was talking to Jimmy Dee. That's what I said. Lively was the difference. Has been the difference with the Mavericks because he's really come on and play. I mean, he's a rookie center, but he's playing like a veteran. And in the paint, the Timberwolves, they had, last night they had so many points in the paint that just was, it was a little ridiculous. So, Lively definitely changes that. They can't come in the paint with him. He's the defender in the paint. So I think, if he plays tomorrow night, I think it's over in 5. But if he can't go, that might extend it into a game 6. But either way, it's not going past 6.
Not going past 6. I wish I would have had that information. I should have called you before the game. I bet a few bucks every game just for interest, and I bet $20 that the Mavericks were going to win. And had I gotten that information from you, I would have flipped it to Minnesota. So if Lively's in, I'm going to put my money on the Mavericks.
If Lively's in, you're good. He's kind of I think last I heard, I think he's going to be a game time decision. So he got it's not anything too crazy. He got whacked in the head. Okay. So he got it was like a concussion protocol. He got a knee in the back of the head. I think it was a concussion, and so I think he should probably be good to go. But we'll see. But if he goes, I think that gives Dallas the edge. And Luka and Kyrie they're just Ant is good. He's great. He's going to be one of the great young players in the league for many years to come. I've been very impressed by him. But Luka and Kyrie are in their bag right now, man. That Boston and Dallas series is going to be a war. That's a heavyweight battle coming.
Yep. And game 2 is the one, as far as I'm concerned, that broke the back of Minnesota. When Anthony went down court, all he had to do was hold the ball in possession, pass it off to somebody. They get 2 points. They already had the lead, and he turned the ball over. After that, I saw the wind come out of their sails for the next games. I'm like, it's a wrap. It's Dallas and Boston. That's who's going to be in it.
Yeah. That'll be interesting. Now, if the Stars go and the Mavericks go, the Rangers win a World Series. I mean,
where you going?
Well, I mean, enough's enough.
Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Yeah, publicly shame Jerry Jones. Good God, man. Come on now.
The Arlington Renegades, I think. Didn't they win a title?
Well,
they just won. Yeah, that was last year.
But I'm saying every sport's won in the last couple of years except the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and if you think about it, this could be it's still a possibility. Obviously, things still have to happen, but I mean, it's a possibility that you could have 3 of the 4 major teams in the DFW Sportsplex to win championships. And actually, if you want to even throw it back one more, you could go with the USFL team, because the USFL team, they won it last year, right? They won it last year. So you could talk about, actually, you could take it 4 of the 5 teams that are in the DFW Sportsplex have won titles over the last year. And you've got the Cowboys sitting over there, can't even get out of the damn divisional round of the playoffs. So, maybe this lights a fire under their ass. I don't know, man. I'd like to hope that they, seeing these teams be competitive and the Cowboys kind of being the, I don't want to say the joke of the town, but at this point, it is what it is. They can't get out of the divisional round, and the rest of these teams are on the cusp of winning championships. The Rangers did win a championship, so Man, hopefully it lights a fire under their ass. But it would be pretty cool if both the Stars and Mavericks both, won the title this year. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of either, but I mean, my teams aren't in it. I'm not a hockey guy, but I'm a Miami Heat fan, and so if they're not in it, I'm happy to see Dallas just for everybody. So that's good, man. Oh, the Pee Wee team won. Pablo's Pee.
Pablo's Pee Wee.
So I mean, something's got to happen here. I mean,
something's got to break. Something's got to give.
So anyway, like I said, hey man, we got 252 you guys in here. So hopefully we get 252 likes. If you're on here, hopefully you're liking what you're hearing and support the channel. Come over to YouTube and hit that subscribe if you didn't already. Definitely appreciate it. Don't cost you nothing, man. We just love doing this content. And like I said, anything that we do, we always give back. It's going to be to the tailgate. We got a tailgate at AT&T for the Ravens. We're going to do one for Atlanta. I think we're going to have a get together for Carolina. Then we get the playoff. We got all this shit that we got going on. So definitely appreciate all the support to the channel. So I'm going to get out of here, but word, Kelly, what you saying? We'll let Greg wrap it up because he hasn't been on it so long. What you got, Kelly?
Man, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna continue enjoying this vacation. I'm gonna crack another Miller Lite. I've been down here in Texas. I feel like I'm as close to the equator as I've been in many years. I've changed a couple of skin tones since I've been down here. I've turned from the pinkish color that I was the other day, looking like a tomato, is now starting to brown up a little bit. So changed two skin tones since I'm down here, but I'm enjoying it. The beer, the barbecue, everything about it, man. So I'm loving vacation, but I had a good time in the cave cutting up for a little bit tonight with you, Greg. Good to see you as always. And yeah, man, you guys, football season's getting closer. Can't wait for it. So let's get to it.
100 days. Greg, you take us home. What do you got, my man?
We got 100 days to kick off. And in those 100 days, it's time to start counting down, double digits after tomorrow. So let's get ready. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to the tailgate party, man. We're going to have fun. And I'm just looking forward to the Cowboys doing something in the camp to show us that all in means all in. So let's go, Cowboys and Cowboys Nation. Stay alive. Keep your head up because we still there.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we're on the positive side. We're going to get this to happen. So you guys have a great week, great weekend. We'll talk to you later. Kelly, enjoy down in San Antonio. You guys make sure if you're in the area, you go down to Cuts by Jones and check it out. You'll have a great time. I'll see you guys. Take care.
Give me somebody that's hungry. Give me somebody that's hungry. I need somebody.